inflammation is a big issue. One of the ways that people can simply help themselves start to get better as far as like systemic inflammation, which everybody's inflammatory response is just a bit higher. That's why you're doing all these things to kind of help bring it down. But getting your fatty acid balance correct. Most people unknowingly have too much omega-6 in their diet because we've been kind of fed a lot of hogwash about processed vegetable oils, like the big ones you all probably use, canola oil, safflower oil, all these oils that are also used in culinary senses because they don't have much taste, so they're very easy to work with. But unfortunately, when you have too much omega-6 to omega-3, you start going into that inflammatory response mode. So one simple way is like, I'm a big fan of avocado oil, macadamia nut oil used for cooking, coconut oil is fantastic. Going back to lard, tallow, duck fat.
Yeah, olive oil, people think it's great. Well, it might be great on your salads if it's good quality oil, but cooking with olive oil is a no-no. Once it gets over a certain temperature, then it changes the biochemistry or the chemistry of it, and then it's no longer a normal thing for our body to digest and process. So that's a problem also, using even a great thing like olive oil the incorrect way.
Yeah. So like, I'm from a Latin descent, so a lot of our food uses olive oil, and traditionally,
Get the pan hot.
yeah, and then you put it in there and then you use olive oil. So what I've been doing lately in that sense, like when I make a big pot of like black beans, frijoles, I just put the olive oil at the end and then mix it in, once the temperature's low. That's how I kind of go about it. So there's ways, there's workarounds with that, but definitely don't stay away from a good, olive oil. You'd be surprised of what a good olive oil is. No one would think like the Kirkland brand at Costco is actually a good brand of olive oil.
Oh, you read the reports?
Yeah, I've read the reports on the olive oil, and which is amazing. So, there's a lot of times you don't have to be expensive. A lot of times people, when they hear the word organic, sometimes can think it's shishi or things like that. So it's not really about organic, it's just about eating good quality food. And some things don't have to be organic. For example, avocados don't need to be because the pesticides can't get through that skin. So in that regard, you don't have to spend that extra money. And I eat at least one, not two avocados a day sometimes, so that's big in my diet.
I don't know anywhere I've lived where they've had avocado trees where they've had to treat the tree. So anywhere in California I live, I've never seen them treat the tree. So it must be in some large plantation in another place where they're having to use pesticides, because I have not heard that.
Yeah, and maybe you just don't have to, and that's why it's not such a big deal. So that's one example, but that's one way to help reducing inflammation as well. Grounding is another really simple way of doing that. So I teach Qigong, here in
Barefoot.
Kaneohe. Yeah, barefoot is fantastic. Like Dr. Mercola, he likes to talk about the trifecta of health. Something's very simple you can do is just walking barefoot on the beach with your skin exposed.
You get the vitamin D and you get the electron transfer so that we're grounded to the earth. Earthing is the big buzzword. And leather is actually not a conductor unless it's wet. So if you wore leather shoes back in the day and they're not conducting with the ground, they can conduct, but the thick leather sole wasn't necessarily placed by rubber to lose that connectivity. It was already disconnecting you. So if your skin was on the ground, instant transfer. If the ground was wet, even better for the electron transfer. So look that up and see what you think about grounding.
Yeah, it takes about 80 minutes, supposedly, to actually...
Didn't know it took 80 minutes, so
yeah,
I'm
for
glad
a
to know.
full interchange of the body's
I
electrons.
thought it would have been instant once you step on it.
Well, I think it instant starts happening, but as far as like getting rid of all the excessive charge in the body,
80 minutes?
About
Huh?
80 minutes, yeah. So I actually have a Qigong routine that I do that's 90 minutes, specifically for, it's
10
my
minutes
outdoor.
of insurance.
Yeah, 10 minutes of insurance. So that's a really, that's something to know. So obviously you can't do that every day, or maybe some people can, but the more you can do that, the better. Grounding is a fantastic thing to do. So Another thing is just making sure you got good antioxidants, right? Making sure you're getting enough raws, greens, lots of
Don't eat the same handful of berries every day unless that's your only option, but we know from the way that our body processes those sugars and the other things in the fruit, we want to have a variety, and we don't want to eat fruit every day in that same capacity. We want to mix things up and let our body adapt to it, because if you think of the hunter-gatherers, normally they didn't have the same fruit. There was, like if you're in Europe, there was a time where the fruit came out in May or June, and so there you had a few months of fruit, and then you would gorge yourself on that, and you can't fill up on vitamin C forever, but that's one way that you got this extra coating of fat. You built up your fat with that high fruit diet in the summertime, so you could make it through the fall and the winter and maybe a long spring. And so how did you learn about varying your diet, and how do you do it currently?
You know, I've been playing with diet for a long time myself personally. But lately what I found is I'm getting older. I listen to a lot more about from my body as to the desire to eat. When you realize that a lot of times we just do eating because it's ingrained in us to eat.
Three meals a day, and on a cruise ship 4 or 5 meals a day.
And we just eat to eat. I really do believe our species is designed for feast and famine. It's really how we are designed to be.
Follow the herds, deal with the droughts and the less food supply, live off of the fat, travel a long distance to get food if you need to, and bond as a group where the seniors are teaching the next level, and all the way down to the 6-year-olds, they're teaching how to survive out in nature and what products we can eat. They're watching the animals live, and we're always learning.
About 2 minutes. I gotta have a really But yeah, so the biggest thing is, for me now, I love soups. So I'll have like a soup in the evening, for example, if I'm not feeling too hungry. Awake, and it varies. One day, if I feel hungry, I'll go ahead and eat. But then it may be like, okay, I need to digest. And here's one thing, talking about that this came up to me the other day. I don't promote veganism. I'm sorry for my vegan viewers.
We honor what you do.
We honor what you do.
We just have a different point of view.
Have a different point of
But
view.
if veganism worked for whatever ailment I had, or if I try it and it works better now, I'm all over it.
Yeah. And I take that back. There are times, for example, my breakfast that I have in the morning, for like maybe 3 or 4 days out of the week, is it's vegan. There's nothing in there at all.
Nothing meat in it.
Nothing meat at all. And I may go a day or 2 like that. But just for me, I don't subscribe to the idea that just humans shouldn't touch meat at all. One of the, I bring it up because this is a critique I want to kind of mention on, but I just felt like I had a sort of like aha moment about it. And one of the big critiques, right, from a lot of vegans, vegetarians, is what about meat? It's hard to digest, it sits in there, and this and that. But my response to them back, with this understanding of how to eat that we're talking about, is, yeah, it is. And it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be hard to digest.
It's supposed to be, because what did we do, right? We had a big hunt, you gathered, the village got together, you gorged on the meat because we're not going to have that again.
And you hung out for a few days.
Yeah.
Like the lion. They kill, and they may be 5 days of licking themselves.
Right, exactly. So the problem really isn't eating meat, it's eating it maybe every single day, every meal, So yeah, we have to, because we have the albatross of choice around our necks, really, that our success is killing us, that we need to learn to taper it back. And unfortunately, our culture doesn't support that. Anything, it's the opposite, right?
More is more, and less is more is my philosophy. I'm very happy on vacation, living with 1 bag of stuff and 1 laptop. Having less options, I seem to do better.
And processed food is by design to be that way. When people think, oh, it's junk food because it's bad for you. No, you have to understand, it's by design. They do that. It's made to be devoid. Because if you're void of something, what are you going to do? You want to get more. So that the food is designed for you to be hooked and to constantly need it biologically.
Should be never satisfied to have the fat, sugar, and salt, or just the right amount of corn syrup, so
Exactly.
your biochemistry is firing you to want more of that. And some people come in for wellness coaching with me, and they say, well, I like this, or I like that. And my thought now, over the last 10 years when I've been studying biochemistry, from a non-university standpoint, just reading the people who are in the universities writing these books, and I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm saying, it's not that this person likes it, it's that they have to have it, and it's a biochemical impulse that's in their brain. It's being fired in the unconscious and probably the conscious mind to have them go out. It's a binge, basically. If you're eating something that's bad for you, and you're doing repeatedly, in my opinion, that's a definition, part of the definition of addiction, and which means binging. And you're binging permanently, unlike our grandparents' generation, where they might do it once a week, once every 3 months. There would be this big binge, the feast, the drinking, the dancing, whatever. People aren't dancing right now, but they're doing the binge eating and the binge satiating themselves on a periodic basis, maybe 15 times a day if they're sipping a mocha and having all the bags of chips and cookies and bars.
Right. So that's the difference, is if you're satiated, you know, both in how much you eat, but more importantly, what's in it, then you don't have those feelings, because you're good, you know. And instead what we should be doing is that, and even like movement and things like that, we don't gotta go crazy. You know, a lot of people then they join the you know, what I call the booty boot camps and the Brazilian butt lifts or whatever, those crazy things, and then they hurt themselves. I mean, I'm sorry, CrossFitters, I hate to burst your bubbles, but you know, the stats are in. It's 22%. You know, people who
are injuring themselves in CrossFit.
Because you can't. That's, you know, there's one thing about people sometimes confuse athleticism with wellness and health, and it's not the same thing. You can be athletic and drop dead on the tennis or on the basketball court or wherever, because you're pushing beyond now, and you're getting into specialization of what the body's trying to do, and that's not the same thing. Where wellness, hey, lift weights, do it good, maybe once, twice a week, hey, you know, go for that sprint or whatever, but once, and then the rest of the time, non-exercise movement, walking, going for a walk, don't sit down so much, you know, things like that, things like qigong. I'm very happy with, you know, or yoga, where we're now extending and open play.
Joyful movement.
Joyful movement. Go out and, you know, get on your sup, or go surf, or
learn salsa and cumbia.
Exactly. That is really the key.
If you're on a cruise ship when you're a senior citizen or now, you're going to have time to do things. It would be nice if you already knew how to move your body a little bit of dance perhaps. Then you're going to have a lot of fun out there. But if you're going to be sitting there off the dance floor, parking yourselves, watching other people have all the fun, I think that's a harder way to go through life. I'd like to be out there performing and having a good time. How about you?
I'm going to do that now. In fact, we're going to have to wrap it up because I got a qigong class I got to teach.
So Sifu Slim and Dr. Alex coming to you live from Kaneohe, Oahu. Shaka, be well, our friends.